Hi, welcome to Osvaldo Photography. My name is Osvaldo Ribeiro, Filho, and I'm your host. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing about my story and how I became a photojournalist. I grew up all over the world. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Thanks to my dad's job, I lived in Italy, South Africa, and the United States. Because of this traveling around the world, you meet a lot of wonderful people who I admire professionally. And my first encounter with photography was thanks to a friend of mine. His name is Greg Dutoy. He's a wildlife photographer in South Africa. And his work is just amazing. You know, it's amazing work. Anyway, he showed me his photograph and it kind of got me hooked. It's like, yes, that's kind of like something nice to do. You know, travel around the world, photograph. But I'm like, I couldn't be a wildlife photographer. I'm not like a person who just, will go in the middle of nowhere and photograph like animals. So I kind of like left this little dream over here. And I decided to, follow, I don't know, I still was like, not sure what I want to do. I left South Africa, I lived in Brazil. And kind of like, I feel it was a calling for me for photography, because my dad, one of his small, like 3 month trips, he went to Iran, and when he came back, my dad is not a professional photographer at all. Don't get me wrong. My daddy had a 4 megapixel Canon camera. That's where I got me my passion with my Canon. And he took one of the most beautiful pictures that I ever saw of Iran in my life. I was around about 16, 17 years old, and I was like, wow. And 3 days later, that my dad returned and I was showing this picture, there was, on one of the Brazilian TV channels, a program about Iran, and it just kind of like talked everything else except those beautiful pictures my dad took. And that kind of like kept in my heart. I was like, no, there's more than the eyes can see. Like, if I ever would be a photographer, I want to photograph the truth. Even if the truth is not what the editors want, but I want to photograph the truth. But as a stupid person, I left my dream as a photographer aside to, go into a career on a biomedical field or medical science area. I want to be a lab geek person, like, believe it or not, I actually had a lab coat. I know a lot of stuff from lab back then. I've actually passed biochemistry, which is actually one of the most toughest subjects you can actually pass when you go to this type of field. But there's something in me that called me bigger. They called me for photography. That's where we moved. When my dad moved to New York City, I've wanted to get a camera. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find myself like a job as a dog walker, whatever. I'm gonna buy myself a camera, and I'm gonna just wanna photograph whatever. Yes, that was kind of like my plan at first, but it's kind of weird because the fact that, I wanted to photograph. And then eventually my dad bought my faithful Fuji camera, 7 megapixel camera. That camera, I took a lot of photographs, and it kind of like pushed me to go to places where people normally would say, don't go there, it's dangerous. I went to a lot of places in New York City. I went to the Alphabet City. I went to, back then I was not a photographer professionally. I wanted to photograph for me, And I saw this area, I don't recall well, it's near the Brooklyn Bridge, near Chinatown, near Brooklyn Bridge. If you know New York, you know that area. It's not one of the most nicest area. And I saw this one dad walking with his daughter, a small kid, She was smiling, happy, so joyful, full of life. And I was like, where's my camera? And that's where it kind of like got me into photography. I started studying at New York Film Academy at the beginning of January of 2011 and ended my program at the end of August of 2011. And during that program, it really opened my mind. It helped me a lot to find myself as a photographer. and also not only help myself as a photographer, but also help me in my direction. But I only found my path right after I finished my program. I still remember the day, 21st of September 2011. It was a very warm beginning of fall in New York. I was taking the 4 or 5 train. I'm not quite sure exactly, going towards downtown. And in a very innocent conversation, I met one of the most amazing person, Emma. You know I'm talking about you. You know that part of my career as a photojournalist, you are involved when you told me about the occupied Wall Street, about these young kids occupying Zakuri Park. That one person who changed my life, that one person who put me in my path, which right now I am, her name is Emma. And Emma, if you're watching this, I just have to say thank you. Thank you so much for helping me find my path. So please guys, do subscribe to this channel. There's more stories I can tell, there's more stories I can share. Please also do follow me on my Facebook page, on my Instagram, on my Twitter. You know, it's gonna be everything down below here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.